Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's event. Good evening, good afternoon to wherever you guys are located, or even good morning. We've had a lot of people join us in from globally all over the world. Do me a favor in the chat, please add where you're actually joining us today. I see a lot of our attendees joining us right now. So, to all of you joining us, please in the chat add where you're located from and joining us today. My name is Juana Estrada, and I actually am the event manager here at Latinas in Tech. I'm really, really happy to see you all joining us today. We've had a lot of great feedback about today's event, so I'm really excited to see everybody engage, ask questions. I see Argentina. See, I knew it. Somebody here was going to be AM. Right? We have some AM on our call today. I'm actually located here in Chicago, and today we are experiencing yet another blizzard here in the winter of Chicago. Um, So if you hear a lot of honking, you could probably hear from outside. People are driving through the snow, so I apologize in advance. But before anything else, I want to also give a special shout out to our sponsor today, Intuit. Thank you so much for bringing this event to all of our members. And with that, I want to also just thank all of our speakers for today. We have an amazing panel of people speaking on a really relevant topic for all of us who are joining us today. And again, thank you to Intuit for putting this event together in partnership with Latinas in Tech. So all of you guys who are new to our network, welcome. And this is actually one of many events that we host here at Latinas in Tech. A great way for you to be part of our network is to go onto our website and just register on our website at latinasintech.org. And there you can register and automatically become a member of our 1,700 plus network. And the way that we provide you guys with opportunities to grow as a Latina here in tech is we provide our three pillars, which is professional development, recruitment opportunities, and representation. So, as mentioned, once you are part of our network, you are open to our 20 plus chapters that are both here in the US and also internationally. And you're available to network with our 400 plus companies that we have. As today's event, we are sponsored by Intuit, and you'll learn more about opportunities offered by Intuit and also to ways to connect with our panelists today. So before we begin, I just really, really encourage you guys to please utilize the Q&A that is found below on the next to the chat button, because we have a large amount of people on our call. We want to make sure that we get through all of our questions, and I will be moderating the chat and also the Q&A and filtering the questions to our moderator today. So without further ado, I would now like to open the floor to our moderator that I will be speaking today.
It is such a pleasure to be here with all of you. I'm not going to speak all up front. I'm going to pass it off to Damien. Sorry, my little butterflies are getting ahead of me today, so I appreciate your patience while I get ready to party with y'all. All right, let's get this party started. Yeah. All right, Damien, I'm going to go on mute until you tell me to go back off on mute.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. As proud partners with Latinas in Tech, we are thrilled to be with you all today. And the purpose of me coming on is just to give you a little bit of background of what Intuit does from a diversity, equity, and inclusion space, specifically around representation. And for those of you that don't know much about Intuit, our mission is to power prosperity around the world. And as we know, prosperity is a word that means different things to different people. And this is how we connect the best with our customers, is understanding who our customers are, what drives them, and how we can make products that are able to allow them to prosper. In addition to that, for those of you that think Intuit is this huge conglomerate, it's actually just the opposite. Like working here, it feels like a family. There's approximately 12,000 people. We've been running for 38 years strong. We like to say we're a 38-year-old startup. And in addition to that, we are a global company with locations in North America, Europe, and other locations around the world. And with that being said, one of the things that's really interesting about Intuit is a lot of the times the name doesn't stand on its own, but when you look at our products and the platforms that we have across the Intuit suite, people, it really resonates with people. So whether you're a small business owner or know somebody that is, QuickBooks is definitely a flagship product as well. This time of year, guess what? You got to pay Uncle Sam, and TurboTax is something that will help you do that. And Credit Karma is a flagship personal finance application in our suite of products. And last but not least, just wanted to make sure we talk about how our values show up on a daily basis. 5 core values, one of which that resonates with me the most is stronger together. That means a lot in many different ways. But in addition to that, integrity without compromise is what do you do when nobody's looking? Being able to be a champion for yourself and others and customers, integrity without compromise is definitely a core value that shows up in Intuit. With all that being said, I'm looking forward to the next hour with you all, and you're in great hands with Jody and the panel. Thank you all, and I will see you at the end of the session.
Thank you so much, Damien, for kicking us off. The cool thing is, team, is we're not going to have a lot of presentation or slideware. We have a couple of little things to share with you, but this is really about the conversation and connecting with you all. So thank you so very much for having us. Again, I am Jody Cordero. I am here in the Tucson, Arizona site, and I am really excited to host this amazing event with you all. Of course, this is a topic that really resonates with me so very much because transferable skills are things we don't consider as we're going throughout our career journey, right? We're just going and moving and trying to be successful with where we are. And what's really cool is that there are multiple journeys into getting into a place like tech, right? And I'll get to my journey and you'll be like, there are various journeys to get to tech. And so if you have a dream, you're going to get to that dream with picking up skills in various ways. So just be creative with yourselves and really how amazingly powerful your skills are. So that's really the goal for today. But I did want to reiterate a few housekeeping because I have a little bit of a different one. So of course, ask questions in chat. Ask questions in the QA section. Sorry about that, Juana. So it's there. But what we'd really like to do differently is to make sure that whatever insights you're getting, share them in the chat with us, right? Because as we go through these recordings or people watch these recordings later, they can see all of the insights you have real time. And that's going to be so powerful. And your insight sharing will help others be like, I didn't make that connection and now I am. And you really just grow together the more that you share together. And so please do that. We really appreciate the support that you have bringing DEI, our diversity and inclusion teams, that's the Latino network, at Women in Tech, things like that, and support. And so, of course, we really are just grateful and proud and honored to be here. So I did want to go ahead. I totally fibbed. We are going to have one more moment of a few little slides while I present my journey line, right? Again, I was briefly touching on the fact that I didn't get here in a very traditional way either. And I really just wanted to let you know a little bit about me. I am Jody Cordero. I am a little punk rock girl from a little town on a border called Nogales, Arizona. And I am super proud of all of my Latinaness. And you'll notice my journey started here as a preschool teacher. Look at all the non-tech jobs I had before I finally got to tech. It's a couple of years. And I had so many various different jobs that I got to the one that I am now, a technical program manager, a Latina network leader, and I'm an agile implementation leader here at Intuit. And I picked up all those skills and all these little jobs that were very important at the time to make them roll into the next one, right? And so know that you are on the right journey for yourself and that whatever position you're in right now is definitely going to be facilitating the beautiful future that you have yet to find, right? So what I want to do really quick is go ahead and have our panelists introduce themselves really quickly because we're fortunate enough to have them go into deep dives themselves later. And so Samantha Monteiro, hello.
Hello, everybody. You want to share the slide?
Oh, yeah, I forgot you had your
Cool, no worries. So my name is Samantha Monteiro. Jody already gave us a spoiler. I was born and raised in Brazil. Differently from Jody, I had a different path where I started my tech journey by getting a bachelor's in computer science. I graduated from a college in Brazil. I saw there are a bunch of Brazilians here on the chat, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I got my bachelor's in 2018. I moved to the United States in 2019 to actually work with Intuit as a software engineer. And yeah, in 2022, I'm still super happy doing what I am at the company that I am at right now. But remember about me, I love having a life outside of work. So I'm always trying to, have some fun, even at work, actually. I always try to make things fun. And that's who I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Of course, I know her, but I'm saying that on behalf of everyone who can't see that. Andres Villalpando. Did I say that right? I should have
Villalpando.
Villalpando. Thank you,
Hi,
Andres.
everybody. Thanks for having me. My name's Andres Villalpando. I've been with Intuit for 3 years now as a recruiter, and I focus on data science and more specifically applying data science towards analytics. My journey to Intuit, we'll get into a little bit later, but it's definitely unique. A lot of what you don't see on my LinkedIn profile, I don't have a storyline, but what's not on my LinkedIn profile, because it's not as relevant, is a lot of like sales experience and customer service and working in the tire industry and working with a lot of different people, and just kind of gaining empathy and understanding like different people's backgrounds and cultures and things like that, and how bringing that diversity is really important towards the workplace. So happy to be here and share my story with you.
Thank you, Andres. And Linda Vazquez, last but definitely not least.
Hi, my name is Linda Vazquez. I am a native of Tucson, Arizona, so not too far from where Jody got her start. I am a mom of 4 kids, 2 of which are now official adults. Pretty crazy to think about that. And much like Jody and Andres, my journey to tech was not a traditional one. I did start off in nonprofit. Those of you guys with that Latino background, probably very familiar with working in a family business. I did that from the time I could learn how to type. So that's always been at the crux of everything. Then I moved into starting my own small business, and then moved here to Intuit in the sales division, no less, right? And now today, 6 years later, I'm now leading I'm the group manager for the inside sales mass market division. And so super excited that I've been on this really cool journey starting here, and can't wait to share a little bit more about that with you all.
Thank you, Linda. And apologies to my lovely Kimbra. Hello, Kimbra. Take it away, Brookstein.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to welcome everyone. In addition to on Damien's behalf, but on behalf of Tech Women at Intuit. And so I'm here to listen and be here as a resource to all of our awesome attendees. I just wanted to share that for those who don't know, Tech Women at Intuit is an internal initiative within the company. Yes, you can see our lovely branding. And we're focused on attracting, retaining, and advancing women in technical roles. And so the cool thing about that is we are a very unique team, and we are really focused on strategic portfolio of programs that really help our underrepresented groups in tech. And so it's through partnerships like this with Damien and our DEI efforts that we're able to reach organizations and hopefully share some insights and give the opportunity not only to learn from our employees, but for us to learn from you. So if at any time you have questions about TWI or Intuit and the kind of resources we have, feel free to reach out. I did put my LinkedIn Connect there, and I know we'll be sharing some other resources as well. And so welcome, super excited for this session, and thank you.
Thank you, Kimbra.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us. We're super excited to have this amazing conversation. But hey, participants, you are not off the hook, because we're actually going to kick this conversation off with you first, because we want to learn from you as well. Back to what Kimbra was saying. So we've got a couple of questions, and don't stress, they're not pop quiz nor graded, okay? All right, first question, and I'll put it in the chat as well. Was tech your dream job? And if not, what did you want to be when you grow up? Super simple. Was tech your dream job? And just put it in the chat so we can see. Maria is all yes. She's all yes. Tech is her dream. Ooh, a professor? But nowadays, I like that answer. Someone's like, I'm gonna get a job. Nice. I was astronaut, legit, me too. Veterinarians, artists, interior design. That's beautiful. Right? Didn't know it was an option. Preach. I didn't know tech was an option. I stumbled upon this beautiful world. But look how amazing. And now we're all here together talking about breaking into tech, right? Which is really rad. And so thank you. Keep it going because it's really inspiring to see how we all started dreaming, but we're all here together with the same dream, right? Learning from each other. All right, next one. Don't forget, this is not a quizzable, gradable experience. So next one, what's the most surprising thing that you love about being in tech? What's the most surprising thing about tech? Ooh, CIA.
I like the CIA one. That's pretty cool.
I saw that too. Right? Feeling smart, competent culture, challenging problem solving, right? Always learning and being challenged, ability to move up. Tech does have a lot of layers of ability because you can, there's so many different types of tech. Constant learning. Yeah, there's a lot of learning. It seems like we have a lot of people with us who really are just engaged in that learning. And you can see that. We wouldn't be here if we didn't want to learn, much less from each other. That's very inspiring. Infinite possibilities. Yes, infinite possibilities. That's what we are here for. I love it. Challenging and creative. What's a skill? Next question. And keep answering them. There's no sequencing to this because again, we'll get to come back and read all of this amazing content. What's the skill you brought from another job, brought into your current role that you brought in from another job? You're like, oh my gosh, I never thought that would have been applicable to this job. For example, daycare. Managing screaming children applies to being a technical program manager. Because if I can handle screaming children, I can handle difficult adults, right? Who would have known that that was going to be something I would use in the future? Not me. Relationship building, yes. People skills, resilience, right? Listening skills, breaking problems into smaller pieces, that is a skill set. Collaboration, project development, right? You don't think about those are the things that when you come into tech, you have to know all those things. And then you get to tech and you're like, oh, I'm glad I knew all those things, or I have a path to learn them, right? Thank you so very much, everyone, for sharing with us. We are very excited to have substitute teachers, doctors, astronauts, veterinarians with us to really learn more about transferable skills. But we're going to go ahead and go into the conversation. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah, Samantha's ready. All right, so this is what I'm going to ask our panelists, a couple of questions. They're going to give us their experiences. We're going to go into it. Now, I forgot one thing. We will hang out after this session is officially over. Some of us will be here for a half hour after the session ends for any networking or questions that you have I'll be able to hang out for those that can stay. So just know, once the series ends, this conversation, we'll still be here in case if you need us for at least another half hour. So you don't have to bolt right away. You can definitely have some networking time with us as well. Okay, back to the agenda, because I already told my team I kind of broke it. So we'll try to get back to it. Okay, first question, and I'll put it in the chat just because it's always helpful for people to know what we're talking about next. This is where we go a little bit into the deeper dive, right? Where we talk about a little bit more about ourselves. What I forgot to tell you is I've been at Intuit for 18 years, and I started as a frontline expert answering customer questions, and now I'm a senior technical program manager. That is managing programs that are responsible for up to $1 billion of revenue. And so you can start wherever you want and go wherever your dreams take you. And so we're gonna do another little bit of that. I know we had a great conversation with Samantha, so we're gonna ask Andres, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your role? How do you define your work? Like what's truly the work that you do? I mean, we get HR, but what do you do? And hiring, and then what products do you work on? Just give us a little bit more about yourself, Andres.
Yeah, totally. So let's see, how do I outline my role? I would say that I try and facilitate a smooth interview process and candidate experience and partner with managers to understand like how we're going to bring in successful talent to Intuit. Try and be strategic and make sure that we meet certain initiatives and certain timeframes for, filling positions at Intuit and bringing in top talent. I partner with a lot of different people, and Intuit does a great job of providing a lot of resources for us. So I partner with what we call a sourcer at Intuit, who is really engaging with candidates and doing outreach and talking to people about jobs that we have open and why Intuit's a great place to work. And then once they get into the interview process is where I kind of step in and help facilitate the interview process, make sure candidates are prepared for their interviews. They know specifics about the job that they're interviewing for, the team that they fall into, and really what's going to set them up for success throughout the process. And as far as what products I support, I'm part of what we call our SBSEG, which is Small Business and Self-Employed Group. So I work on our QuickBooks product. So the majority of the roles are within analytics, in QuickBooks, and different areas of like money movement. So I'll leave it there.
At the beginning, and I just missed it.
What's that?
How long have you been with Intuit?
Oh, sorry, I've been with Intuit for about 3 years now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's very, and you're not in, where are you located? You're in California.
I was in the Bay Area for a little bit. And then because of the pandemic, I was able to move back home. So I'm in Southern California.
Oh, you get to go home.
I was able to go home, close to my friends and family, and still get to work for an amazing company. So yeah, it all worked out. But being in the Bay Area was a lot of fun, and I got to meet a lot of my teammates, managers, and all the different partners that we work with. So yeah, I'm very happy that that was an opportunity I got to take and live in the Bay Area for a little bit.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Andres. Linda, same question to you. Tell us a little about yourself and a little bit of the details of really what you do in your day-to-day.
Yeah, so my name's Linda Vazquez. Like I said, I've been here for 6 years. More recently, because this moved to I work also in SBSEG on the sales front. And so my new responsibilities will be managing customers calling in an inbound motion, covering both QuickBooks, our payroll services, QuickBooks Live, so anything related to our online ecosystem. But just previous to that, about a week ago, if you'd caught me, I would have told you I was the senior vendor manager. And in that space, still working in the same arena, but I actually work with the companies that we contract with, so our vendor partners. And so I had a team of roughly 70 individuals across sales consultants and leaders, and worked with them, coached them to drive the company's strategic priority of moving our desktop customers into our online ecosystem, kind of ushering them into this new era that the pandemic has kind of forced everyone into for the most part, right? We've all had to get a little more familiar with tech and more comfortable with it. And so for our small business owners, powering prosperity, they're up against the same thing, right? So we're working them through what it's going to look like in order to remain successful in this new environment through our QuickBooks Online ecosystem.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Linda. And Samantha, we didn't actually get to your current role and like the details of what it is. We heard some of the other topics, but tell us a little bit about those deets.
Yeah, so like I said before, I'm a software engineer at Intuit. I'm a full stack developer. I've been with Intuit for almost 3 years, gonna be 3 years, March 17th, so a month from now. I started in security at Intuit, and then I moved over to the tax domain, which is a cool thing about Intuit is the mobility, how they let you choose different areas within the company so you can grow and attend your own needs. My team, what I'm responsible for, my team is the engineering team focused on productivity of the tax folks. So basically, our customers in our team are the ones that develop the tax law for TurboTax and ProSeries. Did anyone ever use TurboTax ProSeries? So if you did, you might have some of my indirect touch in those products. And my team is responsible for making the people who develop the tax laws, their work more, the performance to go up, their lives easier, automate their work. That's what our team does, my team does. And yep.
That is so exciting. Just, just to call out what she was saying, right? It's so interesting that you can have so many different tech opportunities in one place, like security, and then we have tax, and then we have pro tax, and we have small business, and we have personal finance, and we have all the places that we have, and there's customer success tech, and there's marketing tech, and there's product tech. And so, yeah, it was interesting when you said that. I was like, oh my gosh, we actually have tech everywhere, because we're a tech company, but being a program manager, I don't always see the tech. And so that's super rad. Thank you so very much. All right, next question, no pressure team. Okay, we're just gonna take it pretty light. But did you always want to be in tech, Linda? I know that you said that you didn't always want to necessarily be in tech, or your journey started off like that, but did you always want to be in tech, or how did you break into tech?
It wasn't on my roadmap, right, when I thought about careers. I have a real strong passion for helping people. And so being in the nonprofit industry and working with my grandmother also, in her line of business where she was doing things like immigration services and things like that, those things really called to me. And so interestingly enough, as we made the decision to become small business owners, it's actually my 4 kids, whether they realize it or not, that kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone, right? And so one of my goals that I set for myself was to change the trajectory for my family. Most of my elders, right, either didn't finish high school, very few of them attended college, and I was trying to figure out, like, how do I set a different example for my kids about reaching further? And so someone had talked to me about Intuit, right? And we were trying to free up resources in the small business to bring on other talent. So I thought, oh, this would be a great way for me to earn a good living, filter back into my small business, and we can kind of really mutually benefit each other. And then as I got here, Intuit offered so many things that allowed me to develop as a person and as a professional, more so than any other company I'd worked for in the past. And I really started gravitating towards all the elements that were involved in the sales arm, right? And it really struck that chord for me of really helping and developing people just from a different standpoint. And so that's how I broke into it, right? Is that interestingly enough, I was working with Damien at the time, and he's like, hey, have you thought about leadership? You've got a knack with people. And I was nervous, but I was also pleased that he believed in me. And so I said, sure, I'll give it a try. And here I am today. It's been a great journey.
Thank goodness for Damien. Good job, Damien. Now, we definitely know that Samantha had her eyes on the prize for tech the whole time. So I'm going to let Andres answer this one. What's the answer to that one, Andres? How'd you get to tech?
Like somebody mentioned in the chat, tech wasn't on my radar whatsoever. I didn't know it was an option. I thought I was going to be a school counselor because the majority of my family isn't education. And I'll be completely honest, I wanted to have some time off over the summer and do some traveling. So I thought I was going to be a counselor. I wanted to help people. I thought, like, early in my education, I thought there wasn't anybody really like guiding me towards something I was passionate about, or what I could do, what my options were. So I thought that rather than being a teacher, I'd go into counseling. And luckily enough, I found recruiting. I'm able to provide a lot of like career advice and guidance and help people pursue their dreams. So yeah, it was kind of a fork in the road where somebody introduced me to what recruiting was, and I fell in love with it. And yeah, here I am. But definitely thought I was going to go into education. My family both my parents are ESL teachers, so they work with a lot of people who English is not primarily their first language, but yeah, they had always kind of pushed me towards either growing in education or growing professionally through my career to continue learning, and eventually I ended up where I'm at.
That's awesome. And one of the themes that you both have, and Samantha, I'm sure if I missed it on yours, I apologize, is that guidance to help, right? I just want to help people. I want to do something better, different, right? Samantha's doing that with developing the product to be better and different for all of us. Linda with developing leaders and people, and Andres really guiding people through a good hiring process, because we have a good one. So thank you very much for that. And it's definitely something that you feel in Intuit for sure, is that desire to help not just our customers, but each other, right? When Damien said it, we're a family, I don't think you could, it's too light of a word for how it feels sometimes. So I agree.
Absolutely.
Okay, now this one's going to take a little bit of courage because we don't always like to talk about our challenges, but Samantha, you shall go first. In your journey with Intuit, what's been your biggest challenge?
Definitely prioritizing the work that I can do because there's so much to be done and all those different domains within the company. How do I choose? How do I have I mean, especially in tech where you have so much to learn, how do you know what you should use, or how do you know what problem you need to solve first, because there are so many. So definitely that has been one of the biggest challenges for me. And over time, I've been learning much more how to deal with that.
18 years in, and it's still always a conversation that we have. How do you have clear prioritization principles? What is the data to support my prioritization reasons? And then how do you like quantify that to math? Because it takes that emotion out, right? Like how do you stack rank? Yeah, it's a journey that we all continue, even when we have our personal life and work life, right? How do we balance those priorities and decisions, right? Because that's also a challenge. Prioritizing work is one, but then how do we make sure we put it down and prioritize ourselves, right?
Yeah,
I feel you. Andres, what do you think? What's your biggest challenge at Intuit with your journey?
Falls along the same lines, to be honest. Aside from like prioritizing work, is really like time management. There, tech things in tech move super fast. There's a lot on your plate, and a lot of people asking, pulling in different directions and different initiatives, whether you're doing kind of like your core responsibilities or contributing to other projects, which we luckily get a lot of opportunity to do side projects and additional work at Intuit. So try and find time where you're prioritizing the most important work and stuff that needs to get done right away, and just figuring out how to manage your to-do list, which is ever growing. But yeah, I would say that the most challenging aspect of things is how fast things move.
There was a book that we read last year, and I apologize, I don't remember the name of it, but I read an amazing 60 pages of it because it was dense. But what was interesting about it was the speed of change with which we're not used to anymore, right? We used to go through changes generationally, right? Our grandparents would teach us something, we'd see change, it would take years for change. Tech came in and change happens daily, if not by the minute, by the hour. Samantha referred to that just briefly, like what tech do I use? Where do I go? Because there's always something new. There's always something changing. And so what was interesting is that as we go through those rapid changes, that our physical bodies, when you feel that reaction to all of that change, is because our genetics hasn't caught up with the speed of change with tech yet. And so as you're going through that speed of change, just know our physical bodies aren't quite there yet. So when you feel that, like who moved my cheese and why am I feeling this way? It's because we're not there yet. And we're just going to go through all the change. Just breathe. And know that that's the only thing that's constant, change, right?
Yep.
All right, Linda, I'm gonna give you this question as well, and then we're gonna go to one last one before we actually get to the Q&A in 6 minutes. So you better get those questions in there. Linda, what was your biggest challenge at Intuit?
Well, I have two. The first one is when you're leading groups of people, right? Remembering to bring like their personal lives and map it back to what you're asking them to do. In order to get the buy-in that you need, right? You can get there fast on your own, but together we go far. And people got to be motivated to go far with you, right? Go the distance. And so as long as you can keep them at the center of the things that you're doing and ensure that those, what we're asking people to do is we're asking them to stretch and grow and develop themselves outside their comfort zone, still ultimately supports their own personal goals. That's something that's really going to go a long way, but it's not always easy to do because it does tend to become an afterthought when you're focused on run the business. So that's been a challenge for me. And then the second thing on a more personal level is self-doubt and the way that I actually talk to myself. It's been something that I've really been focused on over the last, I'd say, year or so. And I was reading a book where the author was saying, it's remarkable how we talk to ourselves when we make a mistake. We say things to ourselves that you would never dream of saying to another person, right? You'd definitely be more forgiving. And so that really resonated with me because I'm like, yeah, I would never tell somebody what a stupid idea that was. You know, I would try to be encouraging and say, like, what can we learn from this? And so it's really being intentional about how you're speaking to yourself as well, especially when there's such a large group of people that's relying on you to keep them motivated and to keep, you know, the focus clear in order to stay on track. So those have been the two things for me that I've really, I think, have been some of my biggest challenges.
Yeah, that's interesting. I totally resonate with that because as you do learn and you grow and things change, you do question yourself. And it's interesting because we're not taught. Someone had said something really kind in the chat, and it was a flex or something. And I was like, my first response was flexing and courage within my own confident self is totally new. No one told me I should be proud and confident of all the amazing skills I have. I'm supposed to be quiet and soft and don't boast and be polite. But you're not successful if you're not confident. Well, you can be successful if you're not, like, I don't mean to say that, but you're like, find the confidence within yourself. You got here because of your amazingness, right? And so, yeah, back to Linda, what she was saying. Every time it comes in, my therapist literally said it last week, just tell yourself over and over, just stop it. Just stop it. What are you doing to yourself? You don't need to do that. Where's the self-love? And just remind yourself, just bring it back in. And so thank you, Linda, for that transparency and trusting us with that, because that resonates a lot with many of us, as you see. So we really appreciate that. The other question that we're not going to get to, you're amazing. The one question we're not going to get to, because I want to get to this transferable skills one, is the biggest learning or accomplishment that you had. So if by chance you happen to think of something that we could potentially share in chat, please feel free. But we're going to shift over to the transferable skills question, right? How have you leveraged skills you've had or picked up skills to be successful in your role that were the previous ones, right? And that was the worst worded question I could have possibly asked because I read it. So really, what are the transferable skills that you picked up in other places that are applicable to where you are now? So we'll kick off with Andres, then we'll do Linda and Samantha. Andres.
Let's see. I'd probably fall back to a common theme at Intuit is empathy. Understanding not only like what candidates are going through and what they're experiencing through, you know, their experience with Intuit, but what the people that you're partnering with are going through and what they're, you know, how to collaborate with other people and how much they have on their plate, and they're not ready to just kind of like jump when you say you need something done. So it's a big partnership, and everybody's, you know, at times overwhelmed. So just kind of understanding, you know, and listening to other people about like what they have going on and what needs to get done to accomplish the task at hand, and being empathetic towards, you know, their work scenario and how to be a good partner.
And I'm sure you learned those skills in your education, right?
I think a lot of it's from education, but also just kind of like working in different fields and industries. And I've had an opportunity to work in a lot of different like facets of recruiting, whether, you know, it's something that's more like sales driven and there wasn't a lot of training provided. So when people join Intuit, I'm able to really empathize with them and realize, you know, they may not understand how things are interpreted here, how we're going about our recruiting process. Or I've also worked like internally for other companies where I've had to wear multiple hats that are more HR focused. So I understand what a lot of our HR partners are doing in more of like the background checks and screening processes and more of those types of, you know, roles at Intuit that I don't necessarily focus on these days. So really just kind of understanding all the different dynamics that go into not just hiring, but retaining people and making sure they have a good onboarding process and things along those lines, and really just kind of understanding those dynamics.
Yeah, so many nuances you pick up from places you don't realize until you're in a role and you're like, hey, that's cool.
Exactly.
Samantha, how about you? What other skills are you applying to tech that you didn't pick up in tech?
Yeah, so I was gonna say empathy, but I'm not gonna use the same one. Empathy is a big one actually. But I'm gonna say to be objective and direct, because when dealing with people, sometimes you can get into rabbit holes, and especially now in an async like world, sometimes we get into conversations and we don't know how to get out of it and what's the objective of that. So being objective is very important to achieve a specific goal in a team. So yeah, I would say that one.
That's a great one. That's a really great one. I actually put that on a post-it recently. Don't meet without an objective. Just don't meet to chat. Have an objective. Have a working session. Have a goal. Have an explicit. And if you don't know what it is for yourself, I'm gonna tentative that bad boy.
Yeah.
You can say I said it. Thank you so much, Samantha. Linda, if you want to wrap us up with transferable skills, and we'll head right over to the amazing QA that I'm sure you have been keeping us busy with. So.
Yeah, I'd say clear, succinct communication. I think that's something that in the nonprofit industry, right, you've got to be really clear and tight. They don't talk to you about elevator pitches. And it's interesting how often you use that in just regular communication. And it's more to get people bought in so they want to hear the details. I'm detail oriented, right? So I want to throw up all my details on you first. And so that clear, succinct storytelling has been critical for my own development in getting communication across. And so that's one skill set that's transferred and been very beneficial for me.
That's a really good one. And if I were to think about my plethora of jobs, I did nonprofit as well, by the way. I totally forgot that on my journey line.
Mm-hmm.
But because in nonprofit, you do have these unique skills because you have to literally make something out of legit nothing, right? And so, yeah, I had to learn how to speak in front of large groups, how to communicate effectively, how to write things down, and do all of the really intense nonprofit math. Oy! No one prepared me for nonprofit math. Oy, especially when you're fundraising. But yeah, but the point of the conversation, team, is you've got plenty of jobs, and when you're going for the next one, think about all the beautiful transferable skills you've picked up around that journey. Because sometimes you're looking at your resume, I'm like, that doesn't apply. But it does. You have picked up skills all along your journey that do apply with where you're going. Just look uniquely at where you've been. Look at your themes, maybe not your specific jobs you've had, but you definitely will start looking and identifying your transferable skills, and you'll find the confidence to go for that new role, the technical program manager role, leaning into your transferable skills because you have the confidence that applies to them, right? And so it's just going to be amazing to see how you all take your transferable skills and become yourself, your full, beautiful dreams. And so, okay. Obviously, I'm rambling at the end because it's time for you to ask all the plethora of questions. I'm going to hand it over to Juana, and she's going to guide us through the Q&A. Thank you so very much to have us. Don't forget, we have half an hour to hang out after that. So when we're done in 16 minutes, we're still going to hang out. So anyway, take it away, Juana.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we have a lot of questions in the Q&A. So luckily we have more than enough time for us to get through these questions. So off the top of the list of the questions we have from one of our guests, it says, I have over 9 years of work experience, a bachelor's in technology, currently pursuing my second bachelor's, but although I have years of work experience, I don't have a career. And there's the traffic. I work in different positions and in different sectors. How can I use this in my favor to join Intuit? And is there some companies or ways to apply that work to their favor? It looks like actually Damien had already answered it. But I guess to the question, right? When you already have so much work experience, you have a bachelor's in technology, and you're currently pursuing another degree, how would you go about to applying for a tech job, introducing into tech? Anybody like to tackle this question?
I think that's a fantastic question.
I don't mind, unless anybody else wants to take it. Yeah, I think in our discussion kind of leading up to this conversation, Samantha made a really good point about how tech can apply to every industry. So I think that kind of leveraging some of your previous experience, kind of domain knowledge in whatever sector you had been in the past, and being able to find where tech can provide a solution or where you can use that background into applying like your technical skills towards that, solving problems in that arena is a great place to start, and just, at least start your job search and see if you can, leverage something in your background towards a career in tech. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, adding to that, sometimes I think we might be scared to even try to apply for a position because we think we don't have that skill. But that's another skill that I think is very important, is to be proactive and just go for it. Like, you already have to know. So, no.
And at least then you'll get the feedback of what the opportunity is that maybe you don't get the job, but then at least you get the closed loop to understand why, and then what you can go after to potentially get the next one.
Yep.
I think Damien had something to add. He unmuted.
No, I didn't know I unmuted. Sorry.
You're good.
I think those are really good responses to this question, and I also believe that Damien answered them too in the Q&A. But please feel free to follow up after the event. I know we have some more information being shared post-event regarding how to connect with our panelists and also our reps here from Intuit. But for our next question, I actually really like this question. And it says, I'd like to hear from the panelists, what do they look for in terms of presentation and achievements and past experiences connected to skills in terms of resume and overall presentations of a candidate? So I think this revolves more about like once your application process for a tech role. Can you guys speak a little bit about, your experiences for applying for a role, and what is asked for as far as like presentation and skill sets when you're in the interview process?
I just did this, if you don't mind me taking this one.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was a change manager, change leader, and I applied for a senior technical program manager. And so I refreshed my resume, of course, so it reflected the skills that were applicable to that job, right? So I have multiple resumes, and so they're applicable to whatever job I'm going for, and just made it really succinct. So that was one. And what we did was in that conversation, I had to introduce myself and give a very little journey line, kind of the one that I did with you here. And then what they do is they call it a craft. They give you a challenge, like a question you have to answer to show your skill set. And so my grand challenge was, you have a very technical, challenging program. Tell us about how you would execute that. And they're not looking for PMO 101 questions. Oh, I'd scope it, I'd launch it, I'd monitor, I'd close it. No, they're looking for those creative techniques that you have used to do the things, right? And I pulled from my United Way days. I pulled from my school days. I pulled from my frontline days, because you could then craft this this whole project presentation demonstration showing the various skill sets that you have. And so that was it. I had to then do a project plan and really guide them through how I would execute that craft. And then that's the craft part, is how they see how your various skills align to what they need. And then the job, and they also looked for job fit. Am I going to be a good partner on the team? Because it's not just my skill set, but if I'm cranky pants and these teams are like super stoked all the time and I'm not going to fit, we don't make that hire. Because the most important thing isn't just the skill set, but the job fit. I used to hire all the time if you have empathy, not to the tech skills, for my frontline experts, because I can teach you tech skills, but I can't teach you to care, right? And so really, how do you come your true authentic self and just displaying the skill sets that you truly do have with confidence? And so it's presentations, it's a lot of in-face in time. It's about a 5-hour presentation block in one day, so it's a little heavy. So stay hydrated and be authentic.
Thank you for that. That was really well said. I think really well explained. Anybody else want to tap into this question?
I have
I think like for us in this, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go. That's fine.
In the sales division, obviously you look for people with sales experience. It's kind of a given. But one of the other things that we look for, and me personally, that kind of will trump sales experience, is they try to look for people that have learning and growth like displayed in their resume, right? Careers where you have to continuously learn and grow and change how you're doing things. And then as you come into what Jody had described, those are some of the things that we're assessing for. How do you go about problem solving? How do you show up? Like, are you going to be coachable, right? Some of those things, because we will even give feedback within the A for A, right, the craft portion, and then give you the opportunity to try again and see if you're able to implement the feedback. So those types of things are important because what we find is when people have been doing things for a long time, especially in a sales environment where it's really difficult to say, like, what is that special something somebody has that makes them be a top performer? Well, we've been able to kind of figure that out, but a lot of times sales consultants are like, well, I've always done it this way. I've been in sales for 20 years, and I've always done really well this way. And we try to avoid complacency, right? As we're a tech company and as fast as things are moving and changing, we need our skill set to adapt with it. So those are things that I look for in a resume as well.
Thank you so much for that. Anybody else want to tap into the question?
I think that was very well said. Jody, the part of like tailoring your resume and pulling skills from previous experience, huge. Linda talking about like listening in an interview, I would probably say is probably one of the most common pieces of feedback that I get from managers and people that are going through the interview process is like the interrupting and not being an active listener. And we had other questions like that we were going to try and get to, and I would say that like listening is one of the most like crucial skills that we're really looking for in people that are just like good partners and successful at Intuit.
Yeah, and adding to that, when I interview people, I like when people are not afraid to say that they don't know something, because that means they're open to learn. They're not trying to like, oh, I'm gonna try to hide that I don't know just so I can get away with it. But no, I like when people say I don't know, because that means they're open to learn. So
I really like that comment, Samantha. It is very, I think, a part of any recruitment process, right, is showing your enthusiasm to learn, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't know everything. And as we know in the world of pivoting into virtual, a lot of us have to kind of learn and go out and change as we go, right? So I definitely agree with that one. And I actually have a question in relation kind of to that as well from one of our members. The question says, any suggestions for how to land a data analytics position in tech for anyone who has taken courses to learn these tools but isn't currently utilizing them in their role right now?
I guess I'll take that one. Let's see. So they have a background in, rephrase the question for me or say that one more time for me, Juana.
Yes, so they actually are asking how can they land a job if they already have some experience with data analytics and they have this tools to use for data analytics, how to land a job within that tech field, even if they haven't used those skill sets within their current role, right? So I'm assuming they don't have that experience in their resume, but they have the knowledge on that.
Sure. Yeah, and it kind of goes back to just kind of landing a job in tech in general is you nowadays you use data and analytics in every field. It's one of the hottest things in the market because everybody wants to use data to make decisions and help drive a strategy. So whether it's in like product or marketing or customer success or operations or anything along those lines, it's really like important to be able to leverage that data, have good communication and like storytelling skills. So, again, trying to find that niche where you can apply the skills you've learned in the past into a technology-driven company, even if it's not somebody who creates software, but somebody who's focused on technology in general. I think you'll be able to, carve a path for yourself in a tech field.
Yeah, I think I'm going to add to that one because you being an analyst and data analyst, it's almost really interesting to see people come out of the tech industry who aren't in tech naturally, like a SaaS company who do analytics in other places, because the way that they look at the data and the way that they ask the questions are so unique. Completely different approach of how they're looking at the problem that we've been looking at for a long time. And we're like, where's the nut gonna crack? And the new guy's like, that's right there. Like, ah. So if you're in retail analytics, if you're in in book, no le hace, doesn't matter, because what matters is how you think analytically, how you process that problem, how you ask those questions and get underneath it. The skill sets are total, everything in data analysis transferable, right? And so when you're thinking about that in your little niche, jump right over. It'll be amazing. You're going to bring a whole new insight to the way that we're just stuck in ourselves. So take the jump.
Totally.
I love that. Take the
I
jump.
may add
Oh,
one
wait.
additional thing there.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say, like, if you're looking to get into the field and it doesn't currently exist in the role that you're in, is there an opportunity for you to bring that to the role? And I'm only saying this because, like, my break into vendor management, there wasn't a job for it, right? I was on a project. It wasn't something that was built into our budget, and we saw a need. And one of the things that we did was to quantify some of the qualitative aspects that you don't normally measure with data, to support, you know, what it is that we were doing. And I'm not a data analyst. That was definitely stretching me outside my wheelhouse and in an area that I don't play very strongly in it. I didn't at the time, right? But there's different ways that you can take a look at what you're doing to say, like, how can I turn this into a quantifiable measure? And is it going to help drive different outcomes for the business? And so that might not necessarily be super obvious in the role that you're in now. But if you take a look at it, you might be surprised at what you find.
Thank you so much, Linda. That's actually very valid too. You really don't know exactly what is offered to you until you finally take that deep dive, right, into finding out what's available to you. I have a question that, well, actually I have two that I think both relate in a similar context. The first question says, have you ever felt that there's lack of representation for you personally in your professional life, and how did you deal with that? And then the second question from another one of our attendees asked, similarly to how to brag about your experiences in a way that attracts recruiters. She mentioned in her comment that, you know, she was raised under the impression that to be humble about her achievements, but, you know, how do you outshine yourself so that you can attract recruiters, right? And I think this goes along with the first question regarding like representation, right? I think it's valuable to be able to have people within organizations who like empower you and mentor you to want to do more for yourself, but would like to open the floor to any of you all to answer this question.
I'm a software engineer. I'm a female. I'm Latina. I'm not even from the US. I'm from Brazil, so I moved from a different country to here. So I can relate to the lack of representation in a way. But what has helped me was to find mentors and sponsors. And when interviewing, you know, even when interviewing for a company, it's important to search for companies that provide support for you in that way, a network where you can find support. So I think that helps a lot, at least for me.
And someone in the chat actually mentioned, if you don't mind, explaining the difference between mentors and sponsors.
So a mentor is somebody who, you know, you are learning from. A sponsor is somebody who is going to advocate for you even when you are not in a room. So find, like, there's an opportunity and like, oh, I know this person might be a good fit, and they bring you along. So that's the difference. Does anybody have anything to add? The panelists?
Totally agree. Having a mentor help guide you through how the technicalities of showing up, communication styles, that person needs to be like almost obliteratingly truthful, right? Like giving you all of the feedback and the truth that you're not going to see in yourself. I move a lot. People are always like, stop using your hands. I'm like, okay, but get someone who's going to give you the feedback to help you be successful. Obviously, I just missed that one, but still. But the sponsor is that person who's like, oh, I know Samantha's looking for this thing and I heard about it. I'm going to advocate for her because I know her skill set. I know she's going to be a good goal for that. And so I did the same thing. I was very fortunate. I still, I'm a Latina in tech as well. There's not a lot of us. Gracias a Dios, Linda's right there. And we do, being so close to the frontera, right, being close to the border, we do have a lot more representation here. I'm the Latina network leader, and we do have a large group here. So fortunately, we do have some great representation, but it's still interesting how it still feels not always, right? It doesn't always feel like we are, but it's finding each other, celebrating celebrating our culture, and just being proud of that. And just, sponsorships, mentors, meeting people, networking, and having them also teach you how to advocate for yourself as well. Because they'll help you practice how to find that confidence that we're told to stay humble around, right? And that's how you do it. You literally practice that conversation over and over with someone that you trust. And then when you go to a Linda or an Andres or a Samantha, you've polished that. And so it's not the first time you've ever said those things to someone, because you've already practiced it with someone you trust.
Yeah.
So I just practiced a lot with people I trusted, found people like me, and just kept networking and leaning into each other for support.
Yeah, at Intuit, we have the Tech Women at Intuit. We have a mentorship program, which is pretty cool that, a company has something like that, where you can get mentored by people across the company. It's a good way to network, to meet people that you don't really know in your day-to-day job.
And I actually want to send to that question because we have some questions in the Q&A and also in the chat on like how to join orgs that support that. And I see that Kimbra's adding a lot of information regarding TWI, but also too just joining our network here at Latinas in Tech is a really good way. We're constantly posting opportunities and resources on there, so definitely recommend on that. I think Linda, you were gonna say something, or did I?
Oh yeah, I was going to add, but go ahead and finish what you were. Okay. So I think the two questions were, have you ever felt underrepresented? And then like talking about your successes in a way that doesn't feel like you're bragging, right? I think that's what it was. And so, yeah, I think that happens quite a bit for a variety of people in different ways, right? I'm sure that I can share a story as well. For me, it's being Latina, being female, right, and a predominantly male-dominated industry. Intuit's done a very good job of making sure we've got a pretty diverse sales floor, but there are still times, especially going into vendor management, where a lot of times I was the only female. And it could be frustrating as you've been working on projects for a while and somebody from your same team comes along who's male and then gets the respect and kind of the interest that you've been working so hard for almost instantly. And it can be perceived that way, right? And so I think for me, how I typically would handle that is through self-reflection. Why am I trying so hard, right? And is it really me not really understanding my own value that's now being projected out there? Or is there really something happening here? Because it's not to devalue the situations where that really is the case. And what I found is it was just my own lack of confidence in many of the scenarios, right, that was causing that to happen. So I always start from a place of self-reflection and assume best intent before I kind of, come to the realization that, yeah, actually, no, there is a little bit of bias going on here. And I'm pleased to say that those things are pretty few and far between. So that's how I've gotten around dealing with some of those things, is really just kind of checking myself first. And then when it comes to bragging, I very much struggle with that. So empathize with whoever asked that question. I got some really good advice from my current leader, and he talked about data, as we've been talking about that over the last couple of times. It does allow you to kind of get grounded in these are just the facts of what I've done here. So you can somewhat remove some of that emotion that you might be feeling of oh, I'm talking myself up too much, and we're going to let the numbers speak for themselves and talk about the actions that you did. And yeah, be proud of what you've done. A lot of times for me, I'm like, well, I didn't do this all by myself, right? I did it with a whole team of people. So want to make sure I'm giving credit to those individuals. But a leader of mine always reminds me, it's hey, it requires leadership in order to organize and get all those people together and bought in. So don't shortchange yourself in that area. So getting grounded in the facts or the data will help to kind of squash some of those feelings of I think I'm being braggy and leaning into that humbleness that we're taught to kind of convey more often than not. And just, this is the story, right? And these are the things that make me feel proud. That's how I've kind of gotten around some of those things.
I hope people on our chat took some notes because those were some valuable points. Thank you so much, Linda, for that. But I honestly do believe that sometimes it's important to like take away the emotions from the situation and just really let the numbers speak for themselves. I think that's very, very true. And actually, that's how I landed my job here. I know when I first got this job, I was like, there is no way I'm going to get this position. Then I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop not bragging about what I've done and I'm going to let the numbers speak for themselves. So all hail to that. I do have a question, and I've been having this question a lot in the chat, and it's directed actually to Andres. As a male who is an ally to Latinas in tech, how can males actually, like yourself, and who are interested in learning more about this community, how can they be more allies and join the groups of Lit in general?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's it starts in participating in things like this and hearing the voices of people speaking up and understanding like what Latinas in tech may go through, because everybody has like a different experience. So just kind of understanding where people are coming from, and contributing towards conversations is probably the first place to start. I know when Damien asked me to contribute and participate in this, I was kind of shocked and honored to voice my opinion. I didn't know exactly like what I had to offer, but I'm happy to be here. And like I said, just kind of like hearing everybody's journey and what they, the different backgrounds and how they've come to this position. And it's just kind of like amazing to hear from everybody. But being an advocate, and like I said, it starts with like listening and oh, man, let's see what else I can contribute towards that question. I guess I'm kind of stuck at that. So it's just really like participating, being a good listener.
He's present, he connects with you, he's not dismissive, he's right there, right? It's like, okay, yep. And so that's also what he brings to all of us.
Absolutely. I think that's more than enough, right? Oftentimes we need that, just somebody to be an ally on the other end of the spectrum, right? But definitely I do agree. Do you have any other like recommendations of like orgs you're part of your support or people that you can connect with in the chat? I know a lot of the members here who are male are just eager to find out ways to connect outside of just Lit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely pull some things up and add them to the chat.
Thank you so much for that. And I also have a question too regarding just how to get more skill sets within tech if you're trying to get into a career in tech. Do you guys have any platforms or courses you recommend online that people who are new or looking into getting into tech that they can utilize or tap into?
The ones people don't think about are communication, change management. Right? Those are like two of the biggest things that I see as an opportunity, and regardless of your role, right? When I started out as a frontline expert, I took every communication class, every change management class, even the little hour sessions, whatever it is, just gain those skills and get the certifications, the small ones, the big ones, because one of the other things that I was hearing in industries is that we're starting to reflect on the fact that certifications are really amazing for that actual experience versus like a diploma with the theories and stuff like that. So anything you can learn is applicable to tech, but the two that we typically forget about are effective communication and change management. I see the change management question in chat, so I'll answer that one in there because that's an answer that you will be grateful to have because it's quite a lengthy one. So that's what I would say.
Any other recommendations from you guys that have experience or pivoted into tech? I see someone added
I second Jody. It's not courses, but more books. There was a book that I read early on called Switch, which is all around change management. And you guys have probably heard The Writer and the Elephant, right? It's kind of interesting to, that was one of the first few paragraphs of the book, and I'm not a reader. And so my elephant was definitely closing that book on me. It took me a while to finish it, but it was very impactful. So it's worth the read and making it past the first few pages. And then there's another book that's really, I think I read it when I was like 19, and it's really stuck with me since then. It's a short book, very big font, I think 35 pages. And it's called Skill with People from Les Giblin. And so it kind of backs up what Jody's saying as far as communication skills. So for those of you guys that struggle with interpersonal skills or small talk or how to engage people in conversation, I really love that book because it's very simple, kind of very back to basics, and things probably you learned from your parents growing up that we tend to forget as we get into the world of business. So those two things I know for me have really been helpful.
Thank you so much, Linda, and also to Judy. We have some responses there in the chat for you guys who are looking into getting more resources. And we also have some very specific questions regarding just like the interview process within Intuit, how to apply to jobs at Intuit. We don't have to go into depth with that because I know that also Kimber has been adding information in the chat, but definitely look into the chat. We have a lot of information regarding like how to apply for Intuit, and resources regarding that too as well. But if you guys have any comments regarding that, just how the interview process is or how to prepare for that, feel free to answer live if you would like.
I mean, Intuit does a good job of posting things online and providing a lot of resources for people. I know that Kimber is posting things right now, but like YouTube, we post a lot of things on like interview tips on YouTube that people can look into. There's a lot of things on our careers page and tutorials and things like that for you to resource as well.
And
I think
Juana,
Jody gave a good breakdown of, oh, go ahead, Damien.
oh, no, Linda, you go, please.
Jody gave a good breakdown of the interview process, right? So expect your interview to kind of fall into three buckets. There's about yourself, your accomplishments, and then that craft presentation where we give you a real life scenario that we want to see how you work through it. A lot of people tend to shortchange the about yourself. I would encourage you not to make that mistake. We really do lean into bringing your whole self to work. And a little tip, the about you slide doesn't necessarily have to just be all encompassing about you. It actually, if you think about your experiences, they probably shape why and how you've done the things that you've done. So they can actually ladder into some of the things that you're most proud of. And an example I'll give is, for me, I talked about in my most recent interview, I talked about my mom, and she passed away when I was super young. But one of the goals that I had for her in my life was to be able to pay it forward and take care of her as she grew up. And it was speaking to the fact that I'm goal oriented, right? And so when she passed, I was like, crap, I don't have a goal anymore. Like, what am I going to do? And actually, my goal didn't change when I really thought about it. I'm like, I knew what it was going to take to do those things, and I knew what it was going to take care of my family and then take care of her. And so I remember that there was a moment in time where that actually happened, and I was so proud of myself. I'm like, if she was here, we would get to celebrate and say we made it. And I got to have that moment with my family, right? And so those are things that I was working towards, that I had clear milestones of at what point in time I wanted to get there. And it translates into now how I approach work, right? And when I set up these things. So again, bringing your whole self to work is really important to us. And so we definitely want to get to know you during the interview process. So take the time there.
Round of applause for you for that as well. It's a really big achievement. Damien, did you want to add any comments?
Yeah, actually, Linda answered it. I was just going to give a little bit more color about the three buckets in the interview process, and Linda covered it perfectly.
Thank you so much. I do have some questions regarding, and I don't know if this is something that you guys can actually touch upon, but we have a couple of people who ask some questions regarding how to transition in from the healthcare sector. I know that right now with the pandemic, a lot of people are transitioning into tech from the healthcare sector. Do you guys have any resources or any comments regarding how to transition from healthcare into tech? We have a couple of questions in the chat and on the Q&A regarding that. Just wanted to give an opportunity to answer that. Totally understandable if there's no answers to that. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on how you're trying to get in. I'll tell you, there's a young lady that I work with. Her name is Michelle O'Dill. She transitioned from the healthcare industry in my new hire class when I came on at Intuit. And in her first year as a sales consultant, right, very non-traditional path to tech, she was actually one of our top sales consultants and moved into, earned her trip to our CEO Sales Club. She's been promoted since, and she's probably one of the, I know I've been trying to get her to work with me on my team for many years now. So she's highly sought after for her attention to detail, how thorough she is, the number of questions that she asks, again, all transferable skills from her healthcare days. And she really digs into the details. So those are, I would say, just go for it, right? And really depending on what it is that you're looking for, because I know for us, that's been a skill set that translates very well, especially when you think about the amount of ongoing learning that happens in the healthcare industry. So definitely checks a lot of the boxes that we would look for. So that would be my advice there.
And detail oriented, what you need to know in the medical industry, like there's so many details to that. And to be able to come over where we, in a SaaS environment where it's with financials, we have a whole bunch of details and things too. We have a lot of regulations on our side. So it's really great to come over from those industries that are very regulated, because that kind of deep awareness and ability to even keep track of all of it is significantly beneficial for Intuit. Like we have a whole bunch of acronyms, we have a huge ecosystem. So the details that you have to keep track of in a medical field, and there's death on the line, come on over. You're gonna find it all relaxing. You're like, oh, this is great.
Thank you so much for answering those questions. I know we had a handful of those in the chat and a couple in the Q&A. I do have a question that I think is very relevant to just to any interview process, and it relates to kind of how to deal with rejection, right? A lot of people who are transitioning into a new career path, whether it be in tech or wherever it may be, how do you deal with that rejection process when you're eager to apply for a job, but you keep getting no's, right? How have you guys dealt with that? What do you recommend? Any of those things?
Yeah, I would say like that goes into kind of like getting into tech. You know, you're going to get rejected. You got to network. You got to put yourself out there. You got to ask for feedback. I know that we try to do a good job of sharing feedback with our candidates through their interview process, and it's real. Like when people come on site, we do our best to take time and make a phone call and share detailed feedback that we got from our teams. But continue to put yourself out there. You know, whether it's networking or applying for a job, I think that that's an important skill, and you know, to kind of you build thick skin, I guess.
Yeah, and at least for me, as a software engineer, something that really helped me was, I mean, I did get a lot of rejections, but asking for, looking for people to help you with training for interview, doing mock interviews, it helps a lot, at least for me. So just a tip.
And always ask why. Ask for that feedback. Ask for that moment of why. And be explicit. What are the skills? What is the training? What is the certificate? What is the specific thing that I need to develop moving forward? Because then you have that action, right? You know exactly what that thing is, and just keep building it and keep building it.
I think there's I know there is a book called Cracking the Coding Interview for Software Engineers, and I think there's one for product too, if somebody wants to search for that.
And I
I'll
think
second what Samantha said. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Juana. I'll second what Samantha said around the role playing and practicing the interview. It takes out some of the nerves. The other tip I'll give you alongside of that is remember that it's an interview and it's going both ways. So you should have your set of criteria of what you're looking for in exchange for your time. And does the company's values and what they're asking you to do, does it line up to what the lifestyle that you're looking for and what you guys want to exemplify as an individual? Those are things that I remember always being conscious of when I came into an interview, and it did help to alleviate some of the nerves, just as much as they're sizing me up and kind of reviewing how I approach a situation. I'm also looking at how feedback is being given to me, the types of questions that are being asked of me, and how those folks are showing up. Are they paying attention, or are they being distracted by something else on the screen? So those are some things that help to kind of take the edge off. A lot of times it comes off as being confident. I can tell you by the time I'm done, I'm covered in sweat. I need another shower. There's not enough deodorant, right? But I have my things that that I know that I want to get out of that. So I think Jody, you said it, like having a goal for the communication, to always have a goal in mind for what I'm looking to get out of that interview.
Thank you so much for adding in the chat too the name of the title. A lot of people are reacting very well to that. And thank you to all who responded to that question. And a common theme to this too that I've heard is just, referrals and knowing who you know within the industry and, asking questions for feedback. But is there an appropriate way to ask for referrals, right? Is there a perfect way to ask somebody for support or for sponsorship? Would you any recommendations you guys have on that? I know it's a difficult question because it's always a really sketchy one of like, how do you ask somebody for a recommendation, right? But within the ed tech industry and facing so much rejection, how would you guys, go about that?
Yeah.
Is that like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I just saw something recently. I follow like a careers coach on Instagram, and they had mentioned something about like not just networking when you need something. And I thought that was really like important. Like join events like this, communicate with people, put yourself out there, and just network to learn and to meet people, and eventually it comes full circle. So that's just kind of something that was fresh in my mind, is don't do it right when you need something. Offer something, when pay it forward is a good term, and then eventually it'll kind of come full circle, like I said.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So with me, what helped was going to hackathons, and I'm talking specifically about my software engineering situation. Going to hackathons helped because the recruiters would be there. I could showcase my project. I could showcase my past work. I feel awkward going to people just to ask for a specific referral. And today I'm in the opposite way too. Like as a employee at Intuit, and I feel like going to the approach that Andres mentioned and not only looking when you need something, it's the way to go.
I would just make sure, because it is hard to ask for recommendations, right? Make sure that you're crafting those relationships as you're building the relationship. If you're the mentor or the sponsor, you don't ask at the end of the game. Like, you're asking during the relationship that you're building with the people that you're trusting in your career. Hey, this is a pretty cool, do you mind if I ever get to the point that you can be a reference or a job? Yeah, sure. So you pick them up, not as you need them, but as you're building the relationships, and make sure that they're aware. I have been part of a recommendation that I wasn't engaged in, and it doesn't go well for your interview because it's like, so make sure that you're communicating with the people that you want to. What are you being asked? Personal reference, job, business reference, and really just set them up for success. Not with like, here's what to say, but here's what you're going to be, here's who's going to reach out. And I really appreciate your support, and just making sure that you're really partnering with them on what that is. And so they're not surprised. It's part of your relationship the whole time, right? And you'll just build them, and then you pick and choose, honestly, your reference group, right? Because you're going to have like a little tool set, like my coach one, or my analytics one, or my project management one. And then depending on my job, who am I going to ask, right? Or who am I going to lean into the referral? And so just build your group, build your family, continue to connect with people like us. And, as we continue to bond, I even did it with someone the other day that I was mentoring her in various ways. And I happened to hear about a job, and now she's on my team. And so it just reach out to people and just have a conversation and just ask, because we're all wanting to help each other. Because for a fact, that's definitely one of us. Like, if you're going to ask, it's hard for us to say no. And so ask.
And if you do that, you might not even have to ask, because if a job opportunity comes up, you can just be remembered by, the person will be, I know this person who needs a job and it's trying to get into the field and all those things.
And I guess
I think I love what Jody. Oh, sorry, I keep talking over you.
No,
Go
okay.
ahead.
That's my fault. No, go ahead, Linda.
Like what Jody said, ask, and then very quickly, the last thing that I'll say is, like what Samantha's saying, just make sure people know that you're interested, right? What you would hate to hear, like that somebody you've been talking to referred somebody else for a job, and it's purely because they didn't know it was something you'd be interested in. So as you're building those relationships, make sure you're crafting that, you're dropping those Easter eggs of like, hey, I'd be interested in something like this if you ever heard about anything and thought I'd be a good fit. So that's the only other thing I'd add there.
That's very true. Oftentimes we forget to just make it very apparent that we are interested in looking for this job opportunity. Very, very true. And I guess to this topic, right, are you guys open to sharing your contact information with our attendees so that they can follow up with you? We have a lot of questions regarding that, so I want to just make sure as a final goodbye that you guys are okay with that.
Definitely, no problem.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, folks. Make sure to like them on LinkedIn, add them on their socials if you can. They're more than happy to connect with you post the event. Damien, any final thoughts you want to share?
Oh yeah, I would love to. First and foremost, I want to say thank you. We're at almost an hour and a half, and the engagement from the community is phenomenal. And one of the questions was like, what can we do in terms of uplifting this community? And it's being intentional with our time, with our money, with our resources. And in this case, it's with our time and resources. So this is the way that we want to give back to the Latinas in Tech family in a way that it's genuine, it's authentic. We're not asking for anything, but we want to uplift the community. So as you all see the way that Intuit operates, whether it's with Latinas in Tech or any other organization, just know that it comes from an authentic place. We're not just writing checks. We really want you to be a part of the community. And thank you all for your time.
Very well said. And you heard it here live on this chat. We really appreciate all of you guys joining us today. I mean, you guys are still here, which is really amazing after an hour and a half. And know that we have a large amount of people who are still engaging, sharing their LinkedIn information. Keep sharing that in the chat. But to Damien's point, yes, we have further partnerships with them and opportunities for you guys to connect with them. So please, please, please network. And they're one of our most prided sponsors here today. So please make sure to connect with them, follow up with them. And thank you to all of our panelists and our moderator today. An amazing conversation. I think it's super relevant to today's time. Any final comments from our panelists and moderator?
Thank you, Juana. Appreciate you having us.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, what a blessing, what an honor. Thank you so very much, everyone. And I'm gonna cry as soon as we're done because I'm so excited.
And I'm gonna give a clap to Jody because she's an awesome
Yes,
presenter.
Jody.
Oh my God.
Yes.
My dream.
Amazing job moderating us.
Such a great moderator, honestly. Really,
Loved
really.
all the energy.
I'm gonna keep it open for a couple of more minutes because I see a lot of people are giving Jody her flowers, but also to sharing their LinkedIn information. So please continue adding that information in the chat. Again, we highly encourage you guys to follow up with connections. And also too, Damien, I'm sure there's a follow-up form that you want to share with the community to make sure that they have that top of the list for them too in the chat.
Yeah, I put it in the chat a couple times, and I'm sure we'll get some responses, and it's really just overall feedback on how everybody thought the event went.
Absolutely. And again, this is going to be shared with you guys post-event, this video recording. So keep an eye out for that email. For anybody who was here at today or anybody who knows that did not make it to today's event, it will be shared to all of us who registered. So have a good rest of your evening, afternoon, morning to all of you guys. But I hope to see you guys in future events. Have a good one all.
Bye.